Alright, so here is my fabric that I'm going to be using for the mock-up. It's just a cheap black knit fabric that I got from Walmart. I think it's about the same stretch as the fabric that I have as my final fabric. Here is my final fabric in my little basket nightstand thing. It is a double brushed knit fabric, I believe. I got it on sale at Joann's and I got about 5 yards, so hopefully that'll be enough. We'll find out with this fabric because it is 4 yards, so if I have enough of this fabric, I will definitely have enough of my final fabric. I am going to work on the top first just because that is the most complicated, and we're just going to get that done and out of the way. Alright, so out of those 4 yards, this is all the fabric I have left. And then these are the pattern pieces I was able to cut out. I got the sleeves, the top, front, and back, and the cape and the hood. I do have enough to do the ruffling and gathering pieces for this shirt. I just haven't cut those out yet, but 4 yards was definitely not enough fabric. I probably would have needed at least 2 more yards or 1.5 yards to do the skirt, and then I would have needed probably at least another 2 yards on top of that for linings and everything. So this was 4 yards of fabric, and it probably ended up being about 3 to 4 yards short for the skirt and lining pieces. So again, I had mentioned earlier I only have 5 yards of my final fabric, my fashion fabric. So I am going to be going to Joann's to see if I can either find that fabric again, because I did get it on sale. It was on clearance, so I don't know if they'll have it. But if they don't, I'm at least going to find a fabric similar to it for the linings. But yeah, I have all these pieces pinned together and ready to sew. And we are going to test some things and see how it works out. Mostly concerned about how the hood is going to fit. When I just kind of draped it on myself, it looks a little too short, but we'll find out. Alright, so here is the mock-up. I know it's a little hard to see some things because it's black on black. So you can see I have the cross pieces right here, so I am going to have to widen these out so I can get the proper wrinkling and gathering going on. I don't have any other pieces underneath other than the base shirt. She does have another layer underneath this hood piece that adds a bit more wrinkling and gathering that I did not put on. Here is the cape. It is currently just pinned on at the shoulder seam because I do have to trim the neckline of it a little bit so that I can fit it into the shoulder seam and then the arm's eye right there. The shirt is a little loose, which could just be this fabric because this fabric is very stretchy. Like I said earlier, the hood is a little short. I was kind of expecting that. It should hit about at my waist and not my shoulder blades, so I do need to bring it down quite a few inches. And then same thing with the cape. I do need to bring it down so that it hits my wrist. But other than that, I am very happy with how this came out and how it's looking. But I feel comfortable enough with this pattern. I am going to transfer it to paper just so I can clean some things up. And the sleeves are fitting pretty good. I'm happy with the length. I had used a tight-fitting long sleeve shirt that I already have and added about 9 inches to the sleeve, which I think is pretty much perfect. The shirt itself and the upper part of the sleeve does fit very nicely. Alright, I have all my pattern pieces for the top cut out. Yeah, they're pretty big. This is going to take a lot of fabric. Next up is to lay out my fabric and hope that I have enough. I am planning on going back to the fabric store in the next couple of days just to see if I can either find the same fabric or at least something similar, just so once I do start cutting these out I don't have to worry about it. But Alright, so I have most of my pattern pieces laid out. I have everything laid out except for the sleeve right there. And then this piece right here I'm just using to gauge space, but I do need to also cut this piece, which is the ruching piece on the front of the bodice. But other than that, everything is laid out, and I think I should have enough fabric to cut out both the bodice, cape, hood, and skirt. I'm still not sure if I'm going to have enough to do any linings. So here's the fabric I have left. I still have quite a bit of it left, but I should have enough to get everything done except for linings. I'm hoping I'll have enough for linings because I really don't want to try and go find fabric that'll match this, because I'm not expecting to find this fabric again, but we'll see once I get everything cut out. Alright, so I have all of my pieces cut out, all of my shirt pieces, the cape, and the hood. And then here is what I have left. It is going to be enough for the skirt. I did measure it, and if I were to cut it off right here, I would still have a couple of extra inches if I wanted to do a wide hem or something on it, and then up here would give me enough to do that front panel that she has on the front. So I will have enough to do everything except linings like I was hoping. Alright, so I'm currently pinning some things to get ready to start sewing. But I do have to remember the order of operations and how things go together, because I do have multiple pieces going into the same seam. So for this shoulder seam right here, I have to put the cape in this shoulder seam, so I can't sew the shoulder seam yet because I need to sew the sides of the cape, so then I can sew it to the back neckline right here, sew to the back neckline, and then sew up the shoulder seam. And then when I do the arm side, it will be the sleeves and then the front part of the cape going along the arm side. I should be fine sewing up the side seams, sewing up. I am good with sewing up the sleeves and then the sides of the cape. And then the front ruching part, which I'm actually going to be recutting. Hopefully I will be able to find fabric. I'm not happy with my original plan, which was to just end it at the side seam. I do actually want to recut it so that it wraps all the way around and covers the side seam, because hers has no visible side seam because this front ruching part covers it and wraps all the way around. So I am going to be recutting this piece after I cut the skirt. But that means that I can't sew the shoulder seams yet because this piece has to also go in the shoulder seam. So I do have a couple of things that I can pin and get ready to sew, but I am very limited on what I actually can do until I get more fabric and get the skirt taken care of. Also because I don't have the fabric for the lining or anything. I also don't have the piping. There is only so much I can sew. Alright, so I finally made it out to Joann's and got some more fabric. Unfortunately, they only had a yard of the same color of fabric that I had gotten before, so I'm going to use this yard to line the hood, because you're going to see both the inside and outside of the hood. And then I did find the same material but in a slightly darker color, and this one they had a lot of, so I ended up getting 3 yards of this, and I'm going to use this to line the cape. And then I got some gray piping. This was all they had. My local Joann's is very poorly stocked when it comes to notions. They did not have any elastic. But right now I am just going to focus on getting the shirt done as much as I can. This piping will be just barely enough for the cape. I measured it and I believe I needed 4 yards. I need 5 yards for the cape, and this is, each pack is 2.5 yards, so it's going to be just barely enough. I did order more of this online. Joann's just is taking their sweet time to ship it to me. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna cut out my lining pieces that I need and start sewing things together again. Alright, so I got a couple piles of fabric going on. Here is the cape. It is all sewn together and has the trim and everything. I got 5 yards of trim because that was all they had, which was 2 packs of trim, and it was just barely enough. Like literally the only it fit perfectly. Like if I had needed an inch more, I would have had to have gotten a 3rd pack. So the cape is all sewn together. I have the neckline pinned somewhat. Right now I'm just trying to figure out how everything is going to go together. Here is the shirt. I have the side seams and the shoulder seams sewn together. I have this front ruching bit sewn in the shoulder seams and along the neckline. And then I do have a couple pins along the arm side. And I have no idea how I'm going to put all of this together, how I'm going to put the cape on and then the hood on. I have not started the hood because I do need to get more trim for it. I need 1 more pack of trim because I need 2 yards for the hood, but unfortunately there was not enough at the store. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how all of this is going to fit together and how everything's going to get sewn together, and I think I've come to the conclusion that for right now what I am going to do is finish sewing the shirt. So I'm going to sew up this back seam right here and then sew the sleeves on, and then both the cape and the hood I am going to hand sew on. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but honestly, just because there's so many different pieces and so many different seam lines and everything and things that need to be finished, and you have 4 different pieces that have to go into the arm's eye and the shoulder seam, I think honestly just hand sewing the cape and the hood onto the shirt are going to be my best bet, just to make sure everything has the right finishing, everything has clean edges, and I don't have to rip this apart 1.5 million times just to try and get it together. Yeah, you can see the different colors that I have for the cape. It's okay. I do wish that the colors were a bit closer, or I had found enough of this fabric to align the cape. But it is what it is. Hopefully it'll all look all right in the end. Okay, the cape is on, the sleeves are on, the front ruche bit is on. I am so happy with how it is right now and how it's looking, how it's fitting. I absolutely love the swoosh of the cape. So here is what it is looking like. I do have to go in and tack these down just because of the way my cape was. Just because of the way I sewed it, it doesn't quite line up correctly, so I'm just gonna, instead of resewing it, I'm just gonna put a couple of little tacking stitches right there along the seam line so that everything will sit how I want it to. But here is how we are looking so far, and I am so happy with it. Also, I do want to point out that it does dip up right here to about mid forearm. That was a happy accident because that is where my side seam is for this, and I had measured that from right here, from my shoulder, but as you can see, it actually sits a couple inches higher, so that caused that seam to sit higher, and I thought I had completely messed it up. Hers does the same thing. There is a screenshot from the movie where you can clearly see that hers does dip up in the back right there, and it does sit about right there. So, happy accident. So glad I saw that. But yeah, here it is. Here are the sleeves, all nice and finished. Also, I know I look like a fashion disaster right now. I did not want to take off my tank top just to try this on, so we're just going with it. Alright, so I am working on the hood right now, and I have everything pinned where I want it. So I have these little like tags that she has on the front shoulder pinned, and then somewhere along here, right here, I have where they cross over at they form the bottom point of the V on the front. I have the pleats pinned just so I could drape everything and get a rough estimate and a good idea of how everything was looking and going to fit. I do not have my piping pinned in here yet just because I was trying to figure out where the piping needs to end. So it's a little rough. I had a lot of pins fall out, as you can see right here, while I was draping everything on myself. But other than the fact I think the pleats are a smidge too big, so I do need to take some fabric out of them, I am pretty happy with how it is all looking. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the trim along this front edge of the hood here, and then I am going to sew all of the edges. I am going to probably go in and thread mark these so I can take the pins out, not have to worry about it, but still have those markers placed, and then sew it all together. Alright, first off, I'm sorry for the banging. It's my pipes. I can't do anything about it. Yes, it's really super annoying. Anyway, so I was working on the hood, and I thought I had it all figured out and was good to go and everything, and I had it all sewn together, and I had basted it with just a quick running stitch to the neckline of the shirt, and oh my god, first off, this is so much fabric, and this double brush that I'm using does actually have quite a bit of weight to it, considering how thin of a fabric it is. So yeah, this thing is pretty heavy. Anyway, when I tried it all on, I realized that I had done something weird with the hood. It wasn't looking right, I couldn't figure it out, and I finally decided that somehow I had put the hood on upside down and just had it all wrong. So I was trying to figure it out and get it all fixed. So I am going to have to stitch up right here, which I'm probably just going to do a hand stitch and just tack this together to reduce bulk and everything. So this will become the neckline. This will be the back of the hood, the underside of the hood, and then this will be the neckline. I'm not going to rip the piping out, I'm just going to leave it. There are some images that make it look like she does have piping along the neckline. I'm not entirely sure, but for now I'm just going to leave it. And then this open seam right here is going to become the front of the hood. So I do have to put piping along this still. And it's not perfect. I've come to the conclusion that overall it's just a little on the small side. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do about it because, again, I don't have any fabric left and I haven't been able to find this, so my only choice would be pretty much to either deal with having the hood that's slightly too small or buy new fabric and completely remake everything, which I do not have the money for, so we're just going to make this work. I figured out what I need to do, and it's not perfect. I'm not the happiest with it, but it's good enough to get the look across and to get everything sewn together. Alright, so I have come to a decision that I am going to be remaking this cosplay. It's frustrating, it's annoying, it's kind of heartbreaking, but there are just too many things that I am not happy with to want to continue with it. There are too many things that I am already planning on changing for version 2, and the fact that I'm already planning a version 2, there's no point in continuing with this one when I'm already looking forward to making a second one. Let's talk about it a little bit. So first off, the two different colors of fabric, which again was because I didn't buy enough fabric in the first place because I didn't know that I would need this much. and then when I went back they didn't have the same color, or they didn't have enough of the same color. Like, that doesn't annoy me too much, but it's just one of the things that I don't like about this. The second thing is I'm not happy with the way the cape is sitting. There is too much fabric in the back of the cape, so the back is very full and kind of rippled and everything. And then I do have that high point at the elbow, which I'm okay with, but I wish it sat farther back on the cape than it does. And then the front of the cape doesn't wrap around as far back as I would want, because hers does actually go all the way around her back and mine only comes to about here. So not entirely happy with the cape shape. The actual shirt, I'm probably not going to change anything. Like, I'm perfectly happy with that. I'm perfectly fine with how it fits and how it came out and everything. But the real thing that made me come to this decision was the hood. I have no idea what happened between my mock-up and patterning and then this, but I've come to the conclusion that somehow it just came out way too small, and I honestly have no idea what I did, but I just cannot get it to work how I want. It works good enough, but again, it's too small. There is not nearly enough fabric in it for what I want, and again, I don't have any more fabric, so I can't recut this or redo it or anything. Yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes that happens. You get pretty far in a cosplay, you spend quite a bit of money, and then it just doesn't work out. I have already bought new fabric. I bought 9 yards of a jersey knit fabric. It is white, so I am going to have to dye it, which doesn't bother me too much because this is such a light color. It's not going to be that hard to dye. But that's where we're at. I'm done with this version. I can't, if I'm not happy with something, I'm not going to keep working on it. So I bought the new fabric, so the plan is to reuse the patterns for the base shirt in the sleeves, modify the cape and the hood pattern, and then I still need to just make the skirt in the first place. I will be making another video when I get around to making the second version of this. But I still wanted to finish this video and post it, because sometimes you have pretty big failures like this. I spent quite a bit of money on this fabric. I was really hopeful and excited and felt really good about it in the beginning, and then the farther I got into it, the worse it got. And that is just something that is inevitably going to happen. Is you're going to spend a lot of money, you're going to feel really good about something, and then it's just going to blow up in your face, and you have to make some type of decision. I'm not that upset about it. It just sucks because I absolutely loved this fabric. It just was such the perfect color and stretch and everything, and I'm really upset that I do have to change from this fabric, just because this fabric was just so perfect to me. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, leave them down below. If you did enjoy this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. I try to upload full-length videos every other Thursday and shorts every other Saturday on alternating weeks. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Bye!